Hey, it's Brian. Welcome back to Heart to Heart. On today's episode, we speak with New Mexico-based casting director Edna Boldin. She has been called the matriarch of the New Mexico TV and film industry, and for good reason. Edna has helped turn New Mexico into another major industry hub. From casting Matthew McConaughey in his breakout role to being a part of the Governor's Council for Film and Media, she has been a staple of this market and was happy to share with us what makes New Mexico so special. Before you listen, you've got to grab our Backstage Pass. It's packed with Edna's top tips, insider advice, and additional resources that will give you a competitive edge. You can grab the Backstage Pass by going to podcastbackstagepass.com.
There's such an excitement about the Southwest because as well as it's doing now, I have gotten a little more confidence as I've gotten older with seeing something before it happens. And I'm telling you, as great as the Southwest is doing now, it's only going to blow up.
I think you're right.
So I want to hear your thoughts because you're the expert.
Well, I don't know that I'm an expert on anything, but I think you're absolutely right. And I was appointed for my second term on the Governor's Council for Film and Media here. And part of our job, the different committees, is to advise our governor on how to keep this going and what to do with incentives, what to do with, we just got $40 million for a training institute because we need more crew here. We need to import more people or train our young people or something like that. I think it's going to go on for quite a while because we've had us and the infrastructure, and now we've got studios, and with Netflix here buying that huge studio with many sound stages, and the rumor is they're going to double it.
Wow,
that's right. And
so people are going to come, and we've got such a good base here too. With all the success, we don't need just westerns. But
Edna, they say in a neighborhood, right? Once a Starbucks comes to a neighborhood, everything else follows. So, for instance, now that Netflix has planted their flag, and you're telling me what do you think is the reason why Netflix all of a sudden says we're here?
Well, our secretary of I forget what her exact title is, but she's right under the governor, and it has to do with bringing new businesses. And she's actually a producer that I cast a movie for once. And now she's this bigwig Secretary of State kind of person.
Wow.
She just called up Netflix and said, I think there's a studio for sale. Are you interested? And they go, yeah, I think we are. That's her story.
Wow.
Alicia Keys.
That's amazing.
She offered it, and yeah, and that's part of my story too, is that you have to ask. You have to see what you want, and then you have to ask. Why not? Why not be positive and think it's going to happen?
This is what I love about your story. So what I love, at least what I've learned, is, as you know, we're in a business where let's just say there's a lot of pretentiousness that goes on. Okay.
Yes.
Simultaneously, there's some of the most amazing individuals I've ever met. Okay.
Yes.
So you were born, please interrupt if I'm saying this wrong, but you were born a cowgirl.
You're absolutely right. I was going to be a barrel racer. That's what I was going to be when I grew up.
I love it because you can't help by being raised a cowgirl, by being down to earth and conveying that message to anybody who comes in your path.
Yeah. Yes. When actors come into audition and they take their shoes off, yay, we've won.
That's right. Because to me, you always hear these speeches about how like these button-ups are saying, the actor needs to feel comfortable, but yet they don't realize they're making the actor feel uncomfortable. But your stories are all about how guys like Matthew McConaughey came in nervous, but you did whatever you did to make people feel comfortable, which you're doing now.
And, I was an actor too. I did grow up a cowgirl. I hung out with my dad. We did cattle stuff. We swam horses across to bring the cattle up from the bottom pasture land when it flooded and whatever. But my mother never wanted to live in the country. So we always had to live in the city, little tiny city that it was. And she sent me to tap dancing, ballet, piano, art lessons, and stuff like that. So I actually, when I was a little bitty kid, performing on stage as well as being a cowgirl. So, I grew up with that kind of balance as well. And my first job right out of high school was as an actor, touring with National Children's Theater. We toured, I think it was 17 states, and did these little kiddie shows that were, we played these little bitty towns where it was the circus and National Children's Theater. Those were the big events, and fundraisers for PTA and stuff, during the year. So I kind of had that balance, but I got to tell you, Mark, I do miss having a horse and riding. And now, now I live out in the country, and since the pandemic, which, let's face it, changed everything changed, and all our world became virtual. I'm sitting in my townhome right now, literally in Albuquerque, but where I really live is way out in the country north of Taos, and we could build a Zoom room. We built a separate Zoom room, and I would be there, except it's too cold up in Taos today. So I came where I can just turn on the heater here rather than have to deal with fires and anyway. And I look out to the pastures, and there's a cattle ranch right next door. So it's still important to me to have that real organic roots, to the land and to animals and to the country too. So, yeah.
So what made you say, you know what? Because born a cowgirl and being around animals, and then going from that to saying, and I understand you got the taste of showbiz with the children's theater, but what made you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to stick this out, and then you went to the office in LA, right? You moved to LA?
I did. I moved to San Francisco first.
Okay.
And I decided to pursue acting, and I thought, it would be interesting to do film and television. I got an agent, and I ended up doing mostly extra work, there in movies and TV, and I really liked it. And I decided, well, okay, what's the next step up from doing extra work? What's the next thing I can do to progress this? And I thought, I could be a stand-in. That's kind of the next step. So I went to my agent and I said, I want to be Lily Tomlin's stand-in because I look like her. I want to be Lily. And she says, what makes you think you can? I said, well, that's what I'm going to do. And I was in a theater group in San Francisco. And that evening I went and I told one of my fellow actors, that's what I wanted to do. And he said, my production company does all the stage work for her. You want to come to work with us and meet her tomorrow? I said, yes. So that very next evening or that day, I don't remember what time of day, I was sitting in a chair on stage while they were focusing the cameras. It was way back in the days when little bitty VHS cameras became the rage, and Lily was one of the first people to do multimedia stuff with her stage show. So I was there, and they were focusing this little camera on me, and then she came out from backstage and says, oh my God, I thought I was watching myself. I said, great, because I want to be your stand-in. And she said, I don't think I have one. We'll have to find something else for you to do, because she really hadn't done, much movie work. She was touring the company with her live stage show with this little VHS camera doing, shooting the audience and big screen and doing very innovative stuff like that. So whenever she would come to the San Francisco area, I would come and be part of, her crew for the day, or drive her around, or find her local news or whatever. And I ended up moving to Los Angeles from San Francisco and got a call saying, we'd like for you to be Lily Tomlin's stand-in on The Incredible Shrinking Woman.
Oh, my
wow.
So I did that. And, I got to have breakfast every morning with Lily and drive onto the lot and have a pass, because they had to make me look exactly like her, because I ended up being her photo double, her acting.
Right, so did you meet a woman along the way named Peggy Fury by any chance?
Not that I can remember.
Okay, Mark. I was just curious. Yeah. She at one time was her acting coach. And she'd come. But anyways, so you were acting double, and then things progressed with Lily?
No, not really, because I did this really long run, and when I became her acting double, that meant all of a sudden I was boosted up to SAG, right?
Mm.
And in fact, I bought a little used sports car with my residuals from that show. But Lily went on to do a next show, and the cinematographer chose somebody else to be her stand-in. It's like, okay, I'll be your stand-in forever. She said, Joanna, you don't want to be a stand-in forever. You have things to do in your life. You have things to do. So this is really, really a good thing. So I still go and see her. I still get free tickets to her
Whoa.
shows,
Wow.
everything like that. But yeah, she said, no, you have things to do. You don't want to just be a stand-in for the rest of your life. So I didn't. But when I was in LA, Marc and Brian, you have to have a straight job, right? While you're pursuing acting.
Mm-hmm.
I decided
Right.
to work in a casting office. Well, first
Uh-huh.
off, I decided, okay, I'm going to take these classes from these casting directors. And I know people
Uh-huh.
do that to me too, and they were commercial casting directors. And I thought, oh man, if I could land a big commercial, that would pay a lot of money. So anyway, I ended up taking classes. And one evening at class, I said, you guys ever need anybody to help you? Because I've done, I studied video in college. And the woman said, can you come in tomorrow? And that very next day, I was working at a casting office.
Was that the Bobby Morris one or?
Bobby Morris and Beverly Long. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was that casting office. And that was back in the day where everybody to record things used these huge old 3/4-inch video
Yes.
machines.
Oh yeah.
A tape
Yep.
like this.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shit. I'm in trouble. I've never operated this camera. And
Oh my gosh.
no, I'm not familiar with this particular machine. Will you show me how to use it? And they did. And then, I went on from there. And yeah. And when I got disillusioned with LA and didn't want to live there anymore.
Hey, it's Brian. I'm dropping in on an important announcement. What you need to know is you have more control over your career than you think. The thing standing between you and the career you want is your connections. And that's where One-on-One Next Level comes in. If you are not a member yet, you can apply to join at oneononenextlevel.com. Press pause and do that now. If you are already a member and you are ready to get back on track, we want to invite you to book a strategy session with us led by myself personally. We will help you prioritize which classes make the most sense given your career goals. You can find these under the Resource Hub in your account portal. We can't wait to hear your success story.
What made you say to yourself, I don't want to live here anymore? Was it the people? Was it the apartments? What?
Part of that was the people. And
Okay.
part of it was when I did The Incredible Shrinking Woman with Lily, I didn't feel like she was treated with the respect that she really deserved.
So you didn't think she was treated very well?
Yeah, I don't know. And then it just, I just kind of got disillusioned with the whole Hollywood, LA kind of thing. And I moved to Texas. I thought, okay, I'm working at this commercial casting company. And we have a client that's a big ad agency, and I'll just move back to Texas and work for a big ad agency as the casting. Didn't exist. There wasn't such a thing. None of the ad agencies, they were like, what's a casting director? And just find people for us or whatever. So I ended up starting my own casting company there and starting an actors network, and stayed very involved with kind of helping develop the acting pool there. And
Oh no, hold on for a second here. This is too good. So, because Joe Edna, it's you're like, yeah. So I went there and then I started my own. But as you know, Joe Edna, you go back there with your tail between your legs because you're like starting all over. You know as well as I do, it's not just like, well, I started my own. You probably were a little afraid, fearful. And number two, what made you persevere? Because I can only imagine. If there wasn't any company started, like how did you even get started? What was the voice in your head that said, go girl?
Well, it wasn't really tail between my legs because I'd never done it before.
Okay, but still,
Part of it
you could have
is just
easily.
the cowgirl,
Mm.
woo, let's rodeo.
Okay, yes.
And there was a need, there was a need. And so
There was a need.
was, not only did I need to educate myself, but I felt like I needed to educate the community too. It's like you need a casting director. you really do need a casting director. And just putting one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other and taking the next right step and just going for it and trying to figure it out. But when
Now, was this in Houston or it was Houston to begin with? Yes. Okay. Before you went to Austin. Okay.
No,
Afterwards, you
I
went to
didn't
Austin.
like Houston as much as I like Austin. So
everybody says that. Yeah.
Yeah. Austin's just an incredible place. So I ended up moving to Austin. And
after how long in Houston would you say?
I think I was there only maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
And I created a big actors network and a newsletter, and we met at the comedy workshop once a month. And I think that went on for a little while after I left. But Austin just seemed more my style.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I got disillusioned by the whole show business thing.
Oh, in Austin?
I said, I'm going to get a real job for a minute. I'm going to get a real job. I forgot about this part of my story. And I went and I worked as a parts runner for a British motor car garage.
Wow, that's eclectic.
Well, I'm sure it was good for you because you realized, you know what, I want to go back to what I did.
Well, I just thought, okay, whatever is in the newspaper today, I'm going to take that job. And I went and did that for a while. But for some reason, people kept calling me and saying, would you come and work on this? And what would you do? And eventually I went back to, I thought, okay, I'm going to have to start my own company again. And
just like Al Pacino said in The Godfather 3, just when I thought I was out, they sucked me back in. So you got the calls and you came back.
I came back. I started my own company. One of the things about just being positive and just going for it is I didn't have a lot of experience. I really didn't. The first job that I got was for PBS, which I call the Poor Broadcasting System. That's what PBS stands for, right? But
yes, it does.
I just thought, okay, and I ended up getting to cast an entire series, everything, all the actors, all the extras. It was something called Newscast from the Past, and they used it in schools, and actors would reenact news from the 1800s or whatever, and it was really, really great. But again, that was unusual that I got to cast the entire series, really unusual. And then I kind of got stuck a little bit doing extra casting again, which I loved for a while. I had been an extra. I knew what it was about, and I loved it until I didn't. I mean, to me, it was like painting pictures with people, and it was really, really great. And I ended up selling that company, signing a non-compete. So I
selling that company. Oh my! Now, were you in your 20s, your 30s when you did this?
Probably late 20s.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
30. Yeah.
So you sold the company. Was that a great feeling?
It was, and I got to train the person that worked alongside me doing extras casting, and she's a dear friend to this very, very day. And what it did was it made me stop doing extras casting and only doing principal casting. So
did you say to yourself, I'm getting out, I'm going to sell my company so I can get into the next step? Or what happened?
Well, there was a big Disney movie that came into town. Cindy Williams, I can't remember. Penny Marshall was in it. I can't remember all the people that were in it. And I thought, oh man, I'd really love to do that. But my resume doesn't have very much on it. I know I'm competing against these big casting directors that have all this experience and everything. And the director's name was Paul Aaron. And I thought, okay, we had an early morning breakfast meeting. I thought, okay, there's no way I'm going to brag about myself to get this job. So what I did was I made it all about him. And I got very interested in him. And I wanted to know his story and what he was about and what he was looking for. And, I didn't make it about me at all. I got
How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's what the book's written about.
Yeah. Yeah. And he went to Disney and said, I don't care. I want Joe Edna. I want Joe Edna to do this.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
So is that when you said I need to sell my company then? The extras company?
What's that? What?
Is that when you then decided to sell your extras company?
No, it was after that. After I had already sold.
Because you loved it. You did. So what happened with that experience in working for him?
It was great. And it it started helping me build my resume.
Great.
And yeah. So, and
the bug, you just like that, you got a new taste and you loved it.
I loved it. And I loved him. He was just so much fun to work with. In fact, I used to be on panels at South by Southwest for many, many years. And he came and saw me on a panel years later and says, I really liked you.
After that gig, what was your next one? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, I really don't.
Okay.
They
started rolling in.
Independent films and TV films, and Austin was
it was the happening place.
It kind of
was Richard Linklater then, or no?
Even before him.
Wow.
It contributed to him, and Terrence Malick, and
oh my gosh, yes,
and all that kind of stuff. I didn't get to work for Rick, but I did get to work for Terrence Malick and Mike Judge, and it really, really built up, and it was it was like New Mexico is now. It was
all these actors were either coincidentally there or they were moving there. Do you know?
Yeah, and it was just kind of fun place to be too. And Austin still is, even though it's changed a lot. It still is, but it's the incentives. Then people started doing incentives, and Texas is not up to speed on all that, and the work kind of left. And but I worked a lot. Enough for me, to make a living at it and to survive and to be successful. And then I was set up on a blind date. And I fell in love with a New Mexico artist. And I ended up, it was back and forth for a while. We've been together over 30 years now. But
whoa!
Congratulations.
That's incredible.
I just decided I'm going to move to New Mexico, at least for part-time. Packed up my car. I'm driving to New Mexico. Before I get to Taos, I stop in Santa Fe for an interview and get a TV series. It's like,
oh my God. Wow. So you moved to New Mexico for him, not because of the work.
For her. Yeah, exactly.
But what's amazing is, just like before you were like, and then I started getting calls, and so I quit that real job, and then came back. Isn't that amazing? And the same thing happens.
It is.
You moved there for her, and then boom, you stopped in Santa Fe. Okay, so the interview was really good.
Yeah, and it was just a leap of faith too. And again, they didn't have many casting directors here. I think they had one that got all the work, and they weren't impressed with her, and so they thought, well, I'm going to take a chance with Jo Edna. And it went for a good while. It was something called The Lazarus Man with Robert Urich. And but the thing is, there was just not that much work going on in New Mexico. I still kept my home in Austin and had to go back and forth, and it was really different than it is now in New Mexico, where we have all these wonderful actors. And back then, everybody was so rusty and green that when you did auditions, it's almost like you had to do a class.
Hey folks, Brian here. Mark and I often cringe when people call One-on-One Next Level a workshop studio because we are so much more than that. You and I both know that not all workshop studios are the same, and I can tell you with complete confidence that no other studio offers the same level of care or programming that we do, and we do so with pride. Here's just a few examples.
I'm Emily, and before One-on-One Next Level, I was in a super dark place in my career. I tried a lot of things to find representation, but nothing seemed to work, and I felt invisible. Then, almost as a Hail Mary, I signed up for a manager session. It was incredible, but it was also the thing to land me a manager. Since then, I booked a national commercial, I've gone on to create a thriving voiceover career, and signed with an agent, all through these classes and programs. One-on-One Next Level has been the single most important thing that's influenced my acting career and life in so many ways.
I'm Neil. In the last year, I booked 2 co-stars and 1 top-of-show guest star on major TV series. I also shot my first lead in a feature film. In fact, I've hit 20 big milestones thanks to the connections that I've made in classes at One-on-One Next Level. The key has been getting in front of casting directors. And that's why I love One-on-One Next Level. If you're not a member yet, what are you waiting for? Every actor deserves face time with the people in the business who can move your career forward. And One-on-One Next Level can help you do that.
Did you know One-on-One Next Level produces over 335 events and classes each month? Whether you join us in person or attend on Zoom, you can meet with A-list casting directors, filmmakers, TV showrunners, and executive producers, as well as agents and managers when you become a member. These days, it's harder and harder to get real face time with industry pros, but One-on-One Next Level makes it possible. To become a member, visit www.oneononenextlevel.com and click join. We can't wait to hear your success story.
Joanna, I wanted to ask you, do you think after working in places like Austin and also New Mexico and being in LA, I've always thought when the energy is relaxed like it is in New Mexico versus like someplace like Los Angeles, the actor has to feel a lot different coming into the audition room.
I don't know. They still get nervous here. Just
Okay.
like they do.
Yeah, but it would just feel, I would feel it'd be a little more relaxed. Yeah.
Well, you can find different kinds of characters here too. I mean,
Yeah.
we do have more of the cowboys, and there's some looks that you just find in New Mexico, with the weather, because it's dry and windy here, that it's hard to find in Los Angeles. And by the same token, it would be really hard for us to do a Baywatch series here. You don't want to do that, in LA or something like that. So, yeah, and the Lazarus Man was great, and then there was hardly anything after that. So I just for a long time went back and forth and back and forth. They were still working Austin, and like I said earlier, I was on panels at South by Southwest often, and there was a gentleman there who I think was the head of the Teamsters Union or something like that, and he approached me in Austin and said, "What would we have to do to get you to move to New Mexico?"
Wow.
I said, "Give me an office." He says, "Done." But little did I know the office was one of the old abandoned prisons that we shot a series in. But anyway,
did it feel like a prison when you were there, or was it a really cool feeling?
it was like a prison. It was dirty in it, but it was a free office, and we actually got to go to the Emmys for that show too, something called Into the West. But anyway, and I thought, oh man, if I move here, I have to start all over. And it wasn't that way at all. It really was not that way at all. I kind of started at the level that I was at and just kept growing with it. So with, as you know, it's been happening for a while here. So in 2007, I sold my home in Austin and moved to New Mexico full time.
Whoa.
And it's been pretty much busy ever since. Yeah.
And you are considered to be the matriarch of the New Mexico TV film industry. Like, people credit you for like the current industry would not exist had it not been for the work you've done.
You're full of it.
Those are an article.
No, but it's fascinating, Joanna, that, first of all, you go from first from California, Los Angeles, then to Houston, Austin. So New Mexico, what's it like to live there day to day? Do you like the lifestyle?
I do. I like it a lot, especially when I get to be out at my country home.
Yeah.
And
that's Taos.
That's Taos. Well, it's a little bit north of Taos in a little bitty town called Arroyo Hondo. And we live way out in the country, right on the river. And, there may be an elk off in the pasture. There may be raccoons and coyotes. And I really, really like that. And I like that I can do my work through Zoom not exactly Zoom. We use, the program through Actors Access. I can't think of the name of it right now, but where we can talk to the actors and go back and forth, and my associate can be in Albuquerque, and I really like it. I like the pace. It is the land of manana, plus in the summer, I get to go kayaking in the Rio Grande. How cool is that?
Oh my gosh. And people don't realize, Taos, that's one of the largest mountains in the country.
Is it? Oh, I didn't know.
Well, skiers, skiers come from all over to ski Taos, New Mexico.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not a skier, but I hear it's really dangerous and advanced skiing. I don't like the fall, so I don't ski.
Oh yeah, people talk about it. So it must be beautiful especially in the spring and summer.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. And this year we had a really huge yellow bloom all over New Mexico. So you would look out and you would just see acres and acres and acres and acres of yellow yellow flowers. It was just incredible and awesome. So, and the snow's kind of pretty too. Like I said, I'm in Albuquerque right now because it's warmer, but up in Taos, it's just snow everywhere, And
So for the people who work in the Netflix studio, is there like a little town near there?
well, it's in Albuquerque. It's just
Okay.
it's just a little bit past the airport. So, and
Okay.
they are building a town there. I mean, that's where
I was going to say.
There's Mesa del Sol, I think is the name of it. There's a
Good.
whole development with really great homes out there. But I mean, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you're in Old Town or Uptown, or it's in Albuquerque.
Now, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I tell actors, I say, listen, if you want to be a pioneer and you want to be a big fish in a small pond, or at least for now, you really should consider Albuquerque or New Mexico. Would you say that's fair to say?
Yes, keep sending them, please. We need them. We need more actors. And yeah, I had the privilege. I did 4 seasons of Roswell, New Mexico for the CW, which it's just one of my favorite jobs too. Just great people, great actors and whatever. And I actually was able to cast one of the series regulars, which does not happen regionally. It really, there's a young actress, and in fact, her mother's a casting director who used to work for me, and now she's she's doing really well. And I'm sure you've heard of Angelique Midthunder. You've heard of her?
Yeah, she teaches for us too.
Yes, she's incredible. But her daughter, I cast her in her first thing when she was 9 years old. And then I had the privilege of casting her as a series regular in Roswell, New Mexico. And now she's huge. She's big. She was the lead in a big Marvel film just recently called Prey, and just doing really, really well, so.
Well, and what do you think has made besides the tax incentives and obviously kind of like a different landscape of, actors, what do you think has made the New Mexico market so hot the last few years?
Well, a proven track record, and we're always having to struggle to keep there because the idea caught on with the incentives, and almost everybody's doing it now too. So it always takes work to keep the work coming in. But I think the crew base, the actor base, is the locations. Like I said, we can't do Baywatch. We don't have an ocean. We don't have that kind of look, but we do have some unusual locations here, and it's cheaper. It's much cheaper to live here. Like I was looking, just the median price for a home in Albuquerque is $300,000. What you couldn't buy anything in Los Angeles for $300,000. There's just no way. And the people are friendly, and thank goodness our governor got reelected. The politicians are very, very, very supportive. I mean, just like getting $40 million to start a media institute, that's huge. That's
yes,
huge.
it is.
To keep it going and to keep training people, and so yeah, those are a lot of things that make people keep coming here.
And do you think the New Mexico market will kind of become like the next Atlanta? How Atlanta has, really exploded, or how do you see that?
I wish it would, but I don't think it can, Brian, because we're too small. People forget, that the entire state of New Mexico population is about like Dallas or Houston. I mean, it's like it's small. And the other thing where I would honestly, if someone asked me, I would say go to Atlanta for a project if it has a lot of African American actors, because we don't. But yet here I am up for an Artios Award for The Harder They Fall, an all-black Western. But it was really hard to find enough African American actors for the supporting roles, for that film. So there are, I think just being smaller, and we just don't have as many looks. Now, I don't know how many Native Americans you could cast in Atlanta. That show, I'd say you better come to New Mexico, for that. So, but for the size, I think we already are doing what Atlanta is doing, just on a smaller scale, because we're a much smaller state. But I think we have as much success as Atlanta.
Yeah,
Don't you?
for sure.
Really?
Because I feel like, especially with the Netflix thing, that's huge. That's kind of like
and
precursor.
NBC has a studio here now too. So, yeah. And Wow. What else? What else?
I was going to ask you. It said in your bio, you auditioned Matthew McConaughey very early. Do you remember what he auditioned for?
Well, I can tell you one thing I cast him in was an
Yeah.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Okay,
Do you
because
remember
he's got such a presence and a dynamic that you just remember the guy. So I'm just curious that when he came in the room, what was it? Was he nervous? How
No,
old was he?
it was the director just didn't see it. And it was so frustrating because I kept saying, he's got to see this. He's got to see this. He's got to see how great this actor is.
How old was he
Beg your
at
pardon?
the time? How old at the time was Matthew McConaughey?
He's probably was 26 or so.
Okay, so he was young. Yeah.
He was very young. He had done maybe Chainsaw Massacre, and that's about it. And
Right.
Unsolved Mysteries that I cast him in.
And this is in Austin.
Well, no, he was living in Austin as I was, but the film was shooting in San Antonio. So
Right.
we all had to drive to San Antonio to do the auditions. Nothing was virtual back then. And I think I brought him in 8 times to see the director. And it just, it's like, he's got to see this. And the last time was a final callback, and there was a role for each actor that I brought in. And they cut one of the roles, and Matthew didn't get it.
And this is before Dazed and Confused.
I think it was. I can't remember if it was before or after. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that was what he was in, Dazed and Confused, not Texas Chainsaw.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking Renee Zellweger, who I did cast last week, was in Texas Chainsaw, and this was right before she moved to LA. So, and we had to talk her into getting a new headshot because her headshot sucked. And well, it got me Dazed and it got me Chainsaw Massacre. It's like, yeah, but you're moving to LA.
Right.
So yeah.
What I'd love to, because most of our listeners are, our members or our actors, and you have such a, wealth of insight just from, your experience, but also being in a kind of a different market. Because even though we do have some New Mexico and Atlanta actors now, the vast majority is still New York and LA.
Right.
I'd love to, see if you could share some, some words of wisdom to, any actor listening on, on if they wanted to break into the New Mexico market.
Well, you have to get a talent agent here.
How many are there?
There's about 6, I think.
Okay.
Now we have a couple of new ones. There were only 3 for a while, but I think there are about 6 because SAG will let us hire you as a New Mexico actor if you have if you present yourself as a New Mexico actor and have, a New Mexico talent agent. But yeah, I would say just move here. Move here for a year. Give yourself a year and come here and really soak in what it's like, because it's starting to be pretty competitive, but we're getting larger roles to cast,
right?
Than we used to, for sure. So yeah, otherwise you might spend more money than you earn, if you stay in Los Angeles or especially New York, because that's really expensive to fly
far
from New York. It's a little cheaper from LA, or a lot of the LA actors who have a local agent and work local here just get in their car and drive, but then exhausted,
Right.
I always try to get an actor at least a courtesy hotel room.
Wow. That's a nice move.
I want you to be rested. I don't want you just to be sleeping on somebody's couch and stuff like that. So usually we can swing that, but yeah, move here. Give it a year.
Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't done it yet, grab the Backstage Pass. You've got to get the Backstage Pass. There's behind the scenes footage. We've taken the biggest takeaways from the episode and written them down for you. There's also tools and resources to help move your career forward. It's the easiest way to turn this podcast into a tool for your career, as opposed to something you just listen to as you're doing the dishes.